Uh, yeah, just a second. Spooling
Okay.
up. Okay, now
All
we're
right.
live on YouTube, and I'm handing it over to you.
I will call the meeting to order and I ask Cindy to please take roll call.
Barbara Garbutt,
Present?
Jason Pernick,
Here.
Vanessa Magner,
Here.
Betsy LaFond,
Here.
Barry Hiscox,
Aye.
Shane Lackner, absent, Judy Sternberg, absent.
Absent. Okay, do we have someone who would like to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I
All right.
second.
We have a second,
I'll second it.
second by Barry. I guess we have to have roll call on that one too.
Magner,
Aye.
Hiscox,
Aye.
Garbutt,
Aye.
Pernick,
Yes.
LaFond,
Aye.
Lackner, and Sternberg are absent.
All right, Betsy, have you checked the
Yes,
minutes?
I checked the minutes, they're fine.
Okay, would you like to move
Yes,
to,
I'll move to approve the minutes as written.
do we have a second?
Support.
Did somebody say yes?
Oh, support, Magda.
Okay, Vanessa, I'm sorry, didn't see.
Okay.
All right. Go for it, Cindy.
LaFond,
Yes,
Magner,
Yes.
Garbutt,
Yes,
Pernick,
Yes.
Hiscox,
Aye.
Lackner, and Sternberg absent.
okay. Do we have any public comments? I don't think so.
No.
Not at the moment.
Okay. Any correspondence, Allison?
We did have the one that I passed along, just a fun
Yeah.
one
That was very,
from
very nice. Yeah.
from one of our parents whose child participated in our Leprechaun Trap program, which was one of our take-home programs. So we do occasionally get parents who pass along photos or some comments on those, and it's always fun to see the kids enjoying those take-home kits. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Anybody have anything they want to say about that? No, okay. All right. How about the financial report, Allison?
So in your packet, I provided the revenue and expenditure report for that period ending
Uh-huh.
at the end of February, February 28th. So we are 16.16% of the way through the year, through our fiscal year, and we are 13.83% of our budget has been spent.
3% and
Everything is on track, but if there are any specific questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Do we have any questions from anybody?
I assume the projection is just as favorable on the same trends, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, we're about at the right spot for everything.
Okay, then Allison, why don't you go ahead with the administrative reports?
Okay, I'll start with my report. So just to touch briefly, you guys got to enjoy all of our emergency manual. So that is completed, and we will talk about that later. I can get your feedback on that. We received 7 applications from individuals interested in our open part-time adult services librarian position. So we'll be moving ahead with that. And then we also looked this month, or this last month, I should say, at the study rooms that we have for public use. So I personally haven't been here for much normal time here in the library, but it's my understanding that, and this is consistent with every library that I've ever worked at, that the study rooms can be a point of contention because they are so popular. And if we had 200 of them, people would still fight over them, but we only have. So I have been talking with the librarians over, honestly, probably, I know I had a meeting with a few of them when we were shut down about the study rooms, about the areas where they have problems, about, how we can kind of make it so that it's better for the, a better experience for the public, also easier for the staff to administer. So, and so part of that was kind of making a policy that sort of consists of all of the guidelines that the library was using pre-COVID, and then tweaking some stuff so that it's either clearer or, was covering some areas that that weren't covered in the past. So I had a few of our services librarians and also Trista, who's our head of information services, look that over. So we will have that to look at tonight as well. We are also working on the study rooms because they are popular and we don't like to do maintenance on them when we're open normally. We did have some vinyl strips, it's called rub rail, put on along the walls of the study rooms. That it's to cover where the walls, where the drywall is constantly dinged from the tables getting pushed or the chairs. So it should save us some maintenance in the long run. And we were lucky enough to have with the samples that we got, a color that matches the walls perfectly. So it's really something that you probably won't even notice unless we point it out to you. But we'll hopefully, make those rooms a little bit more durable. So we don't have to paint them every single year, which is, from my understanding, is what we've been doing in the past. We did order a safety sign for outside of the drive-up window, just per some suggestions from our staff and also from the public. And at that same time, I did order some updated emergency signage. When I was working on the emergency manual, I noticed that the emergency signs, we had moved an AED from a really kind of hidden corner of the library to somewhere that's a more highly trafficked area, which makes sense, so that people know it's there, and so it's where more people are. But that wasn't updated on our emergency signage, so we reordered those, and we hopefully have those soon. And I did mention this JobNow database. Last month we were reviewing it, and we did decide to go ahead and subscribe to it. So this one actually came from a discussion that I had with a patron who had called and had seen that a neighboring library had added this to their digital subscription. So we added JobNow. It's from the same vendor that we use for our live tutoring or our live virtual tutoring. So JobNow does career assessments, it does resume writing, it does interview help, test prep for different careers, and other sort of helpful information for people who are seeking jobs. So we'll have that subscription for a year, and we'll just continue to, assess how it's being used and do our best to promote it to our patrons so that it is used. And so hopefully that will be helpful for our community members who are looking for a new job. And then a couple other things that I didn't include in the written report. I spoke with Bill Wines, who's our circulation manager, and we are going to reduce the amount of time that we're quarantining items. So it has been our policy since we came back to work that when we have things returned, we set them aside, let any virus on them die off. And we'll continue to do that, but we'll do it for a shorter period of time. Per some guidance that we've received, that 24 hours is, is still very cautious. It should be more than sufficient for keeping our patrons safe, but also keeping our items circulating. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Ben Sabrowski was kind enough to coordinate the replacement of our copiers. Our leases were up. And so we have a new staff copier in the back circulation workroom, as well as the copier that our patrons use. So that is wonderful. And that concludes my report. Is there anything you guys have questions about?
Anybody? Any
Allison, I
questions?
had one, and I know I've talked to you about it, but I just don't exactly remember.
Yeah.
So when do you use that machine that disinfects the books?
So that is so we use that for two things. We use it for if there are items that people have left out on the tables.
Okay.
We'll just go ahead and run them through the UV sanitizing machine. And it's also, so it's located in the lobby. So
Yeah.
it's for patron use. So if someone, and it's used quite a bit, so when people check things out, if they desire for their things to go through that UV sanitizer, they can go ahead and do it. It holds 6 or 8 items at once and takes about a minute to run. So they, they'll go through and do, run it 1 or 2 cycles, depending on how much they check out. Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, so it is, I'm glad we got that, because I know some people
Yeah.
feel like that extra layer of protection makes them, feel more comfortable.
I was just wondering, now that it's 24 hours, I'm sure it'll be better, but if, a book is in quarantine, but yet it wants to be, taken out, it would be nice if you could use that in lieu of the quarantine, but it doesn't sound like that's the process.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that we don't really have an accounting of those items that they're on that quarantine table until they've been checked in, until they're in the quarantine, unless it's just something that we've seen sitting out there. And at that point, we could say, this got returned this morning. We can run it through this if you want to check it out now. But there's, it kind of depends on the day, on the volume of things. But at least now, even if we're placing a hold, and it is something that's on the quarantine table, it should be available, within the next day. So.
Okay, anybody else? Allison, you want to give us a little talk about the statistics at all? Or
Sure,
we could-
yeah. We did give you guys a little spreadsheet with the programs that we did over the month of February. So we're continuing to do story times. Those are obviously virtual. And then the youth and teen programs, all the youth programs were take-home kits. The teen programs are a combination of take-home kits, and then the Dungeons and Dragons is done online. And it's been fun to see that kind of it's growing, and I think it will grow more when we're able to do it in person. So that will be really, really fun. I know that the librarian who's in charge of that, Shelby's, pretty passionate about that. So I am looking forward to seeing that grow. And then our adult programs, we had a variety of programs over the month of February. Oh, you know what, the one? So we did, the one I wanted to call attention to was actually in March. So I'll have to tell you guys about that one later. It was very popular. But, we've had all sorts of fun ones. We did tea kits, which were take home. They had like a little information packet on it, the type of tea and some little things to go with it. We're still doing our 2 book clubs. So we do a morning book club that our new full-time adult services librarian, Alexis, runs. And then we do one with the Richardson Center as well, which is our seasoned readers book club. And that actually, our March one was today. It's always the same day as our library board meetings. And it's been really, I just joined in order to get everyone logged in on Zoom, and I kind of manage that. And then our retired adult services librarian or department head, Marika, runs that book group. But she asked them this morning, what do you guys think about Zoom? And they said, it's not, we prefer to be in person. And I'm hoping that happens very soon. But, they say that, it's so much better than that meeting. And it's really fun to see that, they're always really excited to see each other and to catch up and, talk about the book, but also a lot of other things. And then Ashley has been doing, Ashley is our adult services and outreach librarian, has been doing some outreach visits with some of the schools. Generally those are via Zoom as well, but, kind of popping in and reading with the students that she would usually visit with in person. So we have been busy. It's been a fun, the beginning of this year has been really fun. It's starting to feel more like we're getting closer to doing all of, it's getting a little more normal, and we're really looking forward to this summer. And then in terms of the building statistics, we checked out a little over 17,000 items in February, and then combine that with the downloadables, it was a little more than, or almost 24,000. So yeah, so the library is busy. We're busy in a different way, but we're definitely still circulating materials. And I think I mentioned to you guys last month, I actually, with the departure of our adult services librarian at the end of January, I took over the downloadables collection. So I'm doing the Overdrive, which is our main downloadable items vendor. And it's been really fun to see what exactly our patrons check out and what they're asking for. And it's the demand never, you'll never hit the bottom of the demand. So it's kind of a puzzle to try to, you know, have a good balance of items and figure out what, you know, that people are asking that we buy, what's going to check out beyond that one person, and what, you know, what's like so niche that maybe we can't fill that. Or, I mean, the prices on those items, you know, it's $110 for one audiobook that we might only be able to license for 2 years. So it's been a good brain puzzle for me. I've been enjoying that. And thankfully it's something that I had done in past positions, so that I was able to kind of jump in and do, but looking forward to training up someone on that in the future so that they can do the brain puzzle.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's all I
Anybody?
have in terms of all those reports, but if there's anything specific you guys need questions or have questions about, I would love to answer.
Anybody? Okay, we'll move on to old business. Do we have any? I don't believe so.
I don't believe so either.
Okay. Would you like to talk about the emergency manual then under new business?
Yeah, sure. So I provided the emergency manual that I've been kind of toiling away at for a while now for you guys just to look at. I didn't know if there was anything specific that you guys wanted or had, you know, questions about, or felt like I left out or should include. I did, this went to Jim Dundas, so our fire chief, and the township supervisor, Larry Gray, also saw it. We did make a few changes. And then, so this is reflecting those changes. I asked the township's attorney, this doesn't in his mind need to be approved by the library advisory board or by the township board, but I did want you guys to see it. And obviously I value your suggestions if you have any, and, you know, can make those updates before I give this to the staff and go over it with them.
I thought it was rather detailed.
So did I when I was writing it. Yeah. There's just
Could I make a couple of observations?
Yes.
I think for accuracy's sake that, well, first of all, I think that it was a great idea having the fire chief review it. And for the same reason, I think that sheriff's office ought to review it as well.
Okay.
Since there's information in there that they should probably know about, and they may have some comment. I think that because the township is policed by the sheriff's office, that the references to the police should say the sheriff's office rather than police, to
okay.
make it clear that that's who gets called.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the last paragraph on page 13 regarding carrying of a weapon is inaccurate. It says Michigan is a quote open carry state, and this law applies to libraries. Library users with a gun permit are within their rights to openly carry a gun into the library. That's legally inaccurate. Open carry means that except in accepted areas of which the library is not, that a person can carry a pistol unconcealed, regardless of whether they have a concealed pistol license. So that should be clarified.
Okay.
Let's see, there was another reference there. I think that the term gun permit ought to be changed to accurately reflect what the thing is called, and it's a concealed pistol license, abbreviated to CPL rather than gun permit.
Okay. I'll just have, I can ask the township's attorney just to rewrite that part.
Okay.
Jason, good thing
is-
you look at those things for us.
Mhm.
Well, it's what you pay me the big money for. How about that? And especially in this area of gun rights and in constitutional rights, there are individuals who seek to test the policies and procedures, especially in governmental organizations, and they're within their rights to do that. And so I'm just concerned that whatever we have accurately reflects the state of the law. And in terms of emergency procedure, I think there are two important aspects to having the sheriff's office review it. One, so that they can make any suggestions that they may have as to how we could proceed. But two, I think it's important that they have a copy of our policy so that they know how we're going to react in a given situation.
Right.
So the
right.
question comes up as to what we're going to do. They have a copy of the policy available to them that they can refer to so that they know how we're going to
Yeah, you're on
proceed.
the same page, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think it's generally good though, Allison.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, those are all, I will make
Well,
the little
I think
changes
that
and
you
I will
see,
get it to the attorney and then to the sheriff's office.
when you see things that we don't like, when it said the police, I just assumed it was the sheriff and didn't
Right.
think about that. So it's nice to have
That's
you
right.
help
Oh,
us
it's
with
not-
those things.
It identifies the person, yes.
Yeah, it's not terribly inaccurate, but if,
But it can be more accurate.
well, and here's the thing, if perhaps some staff member who has a problem goes to the policy, is reading it and says, hey, this policy says to call the police, but I know that the sheriff's office are the police. Well, who do I call? So
Yeah.
rather than presenting that as a problem, I think it's better that it accurately reflects it. And then I had one other question on a related subject, and that is in keeping with the emergency policy, I think it would be a good idea to get the staff together and do some kind of a fire drill of some sort or some type of like an an active shooter response. It doesn't have to be really involved, but it's just like we practiced fire drills when we were in school so that we would know what to do when the alarm went off. It'd be a good idea to have the staff
Yeah.
either practice or
Right.
at least get together and discuss what people's jobs will be, what they will do in the event of one of these emergencies.
Yeah.
We're more likely to have a weather emergency than we are to have an active shooter, but still the staff needs to know what to do in the event of a fire or a tornado or
Yeah.
a medical emergency.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it would be a good idea to practice that and to encourage or provide for staff training in CPR and AED.
Yes, and that has done, all of those things have been done in the past, but I know that
We've
when I
got,
spoke with Jim Dundas, he expressed, that it was time for them to come back out. And it might just make sense to have the sheriff's department out at the same time. So when we discuss this, we can discuss,
Okay.
some additional training. I think that's a great idea, and we probably should do it annually. So
yes, I was thinking of that because we have several new staff members that may
Yes.
not have been trained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
thank you.
Allison, does on the AEDs, do they go around and check the expiration dates for you, or are you responsible for that?
They do that for us.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I know
Most
the
of
township
them,
one used to be expired and, yeah.
most of them will have a battery indicator on them as well. And so you can simply look through the window and there'll be some really simple symbolic representation of whether the battery is sufficiently charged or not.
Right.
I believe they were last here in the late summer. But yeah, it's one of the wonderful things about being part of a bigger organization is that you've got teammates to help you with those things. So
Yeah.
so and it's been nice to get their help on this. And I will reach out to Wendy Reyes and we'll finish this up and I'll get it out to the staff.
I don't think the township approves that. We don't have to have a motion on that, or do we?
No,
No,
the township
I didn't.
secretary said, this was kind of just operational. So,
Okay,
but thank you all for all of your thoughts on it. I do really appreciate it. I knew that we needed some extra eyes on it. Yeah, so that was wonderful. Thank you.
okay. Do you want to, did somebody else say something there? Okay, Allison, you want to go over the, any changes in the room?
Yeah, so the
rules?
study room.
Yeah.
What we had before was what, at least what staff perceived as guidelines rather than a policy. So I sort of transitioned it into more of a policy that hopefully we can discuss, and then we can get to the township board for approval, and have it ready to go once we do have those study rooms open. So largely, it's just it's rewritten of those rules that already existed with a few small changes. So this is the one that says group study room rules. That was the existing one that was last updated in 2019. And then the one that says policy at the top was the one that we sort of retooled a little bit. So we had a few changes. The new policy doesn't mention food as the old rules did. It's just we're suggesting that we keep the food rules the same as they are in the rest of the library, which is covered beverages are allowed, and then no food other than snack or wrapped items, individual sort of servings of things, which is how it's written in the patron behavior policy. Other than that, it's just kind of presenting the information in a different way. It's giving us, rather than sort of an unspecific, I believe it said, librarians may ask an individual to leave if it's just a single person in the room. This is a little bit more specific, where it says, if a single person is in the room and all of the rooms are occupied, we will ask the single people to move, starting with room 1 and going down the list. Being that study room 1 and 2 are the bigger rooms, and just asking the single people to move up to tables if we need the groups, because they're group rooms, for groups. And changing the 2 hour. So the previous rule was that people could, when you use the room, you have the room for 2 hours. And we just changed this to say, you have the room for 2 hours. If there aren't people waiting, you can re-up for an extra hour, and you can do it in 1 hour increments, so that, we're not asking people to move just because their 2 hours of time have expired. Other than that, just, addressing a few small things that we've had, issues we've had with people writing on the walls with the dry erase markers, or taping things to the walls or to the doors. And people, the lights in the rooms are motion detecting, which, so if you're like really holding still and like watching something on your laptop or working, the lights go out, but then we can't see what's going on in the room. So those need to stay on. So just things like that. I don't think there's anything too radical, or really that different from how it was before. It really, the idea of here is just kind of to clean up what was already there, and to make it a little bit easier for the librarians to enforce.
Anybody? We did have a big problem last year. I can remember that. So it's a good thing to have a policy.
It kind of goes with the territory. They're wonderful, and everyone wants to use them, and because everyone wants to use them, and it feels private because the door is closed, but it's not. So it's just kind of a sticky point. But they're a great thing to have. So I think it's just better to have clear expectations than to, everyone does better with boundaries. So rather than have a big fight about it every day.
Alison, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
In regard to facilities we provide, how much of the necessary guideline rules are on our website for if people want to check if they want to rent a room or whatever? Is any of it on there?
So I don't know
Guidance.
that the study room rules are up there, but we can add them once these new ones get approved. That's the direction we go in. The meeting room policy is up on the website, so is the patron behavior policy.
Okay.
So sort of the ones that people have more questions about are up there.
Right.
I think that the one for unattended children is up there.
Right.
I don't know that anyone who doesn't work in a library would ever go to look for a library's policies or even think to, but they are there. And it's nice, honestly, I know where I can find them real quick if I needed them.
Right. I'm just saying that because before people go in assuming they can avail the service, then maybe if they're aware of what they're restricted to, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no problem when it comes to an issue.
That's fair. And I'm sure that I'll have to look. I imagine that there's a mention of the study rooms elsewhere on the website, and at least we could link back to them.
Right, great.
Just, so people know how long they can use the room for. They don't show up and think they're gonna
You
have
probably realise I haven't
a
seen the
room for 8
website
hours.
lately.
Yeah.
Jason, did you have something?
No, well, yes, then if I said no, I wouldn't have anything, but yes, I do. We've always thought it's a good idea to have the policies available in case people want to see them.
For sure.
And there are times when you'll have people who don't like what they're being told and will want to say, let me see your written policy.
Mhm.
And the easy answer to it is, there it is. And also, rather than putting the responsibility of making day-to-day or individual decisions on how something might work,
Yeah.
it provides guidance to the staff at the library as to how to handle
Yeah.
day-to-day operations and what to do when there are problems. So it's good for both of those reasons.
I agree.
Is there an issue with the tutors where it's the business where they use the rooms?
That is also, a common issue that libraries have. And I did specify, and we can change this if you guys would like. I did specify the typical use of the study room is group study, not for profit tutoring or committee work.
Mhm.
So, I don't know that there's a way, for us to vet every person who's, clearly in a tutoring situation, if there's money being exchanged or not. And I believe our meeting room policy is more clear on that. There are libraries that say, you can't run your tutoring business out of this library. And we, that's something that we could do. It's actually, I know that last I checked, that was West Bloomfield's policy, was that
Right.
for-profit tutoring wasn't permitted.
Right.
That is, the people who are charging to tutor people certainly want to use those rooms, and understandably so. The library is a safe place, and if I was a tutor, I'd want to tutor at the library in a study room too. So it would be harder for us to enforce. We could figure out a way to do it. It's hard. That's a hard one.
I know we've talked about it in the past. I don't know if
Yeah.
we had a problem or yes. I can't.
I've never felt that we should exclude tutors that are charging for their services. The mere fact that people are charging for the services that they're providing doesn't offend me in any way. They aren't disturbing the library. They're following the same rules for study room use. There's a 2-hour limitation. They're certainly not going to engage in the kind of disruptive behavior that you have with some other people, because there's a vested interest in being able to continue to use that. They're
Mhm.
probably going to be our best users because they want to continue to use it.
Yeah.
And the way I see it is they pay tax dollars too. And simply because they're in there offering their services to people who want to buy those services is not a reason that we should discriminate against them. I don't know where the argument for the policy came from in the first place, but I can tell you I've never agreed with it.
Well, and I have said again and again that the thing to me is a tutor brings a kid into the library becomes a part of the kid who likes, maybe then comes more often on
Absolutely.
their own. They
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
read. I think it's an essential thing for us to encourage anybody to come into the
Right.
library if it's used properly.
Right.
So should I take out the not-for-profit and just say tutoring? I'm okay with that.
I think the wording's okay. I agree with the tutoring too, 100%, but I can give you a little background as to why the township in general has been, just maybe iffy on it. We didn't want people to use township property to make a profit, specifically charge people to have teach an Excel class and that kind of stuff for free. So they can go to the township hall and rent a room, and there's a process. So that's kind of the background on why not for free, we would want people to rent a room, but I agree with the tutoring. And I don't think people are taking advantage of the township with a time limit and, helping the kid.
Could I ask a silly question? Are the tutors library card holders?
Wait.
Not necessarily. They
Why
might
not?
be someone who teaches in the school district but lives in Farmington
All right.
Hills. It could be,
But they could be.
but that then likely the child, their parent or the child is a library card holder. But sometimes I'm sure that sometimes neither is the case, because West
Yeah.
Bloomfield doesn't do it. It could be a West Bloomfield teacher.
Just my
who is
small
West
mind
Bloomfield
says if
tutoring a
you're a
West
card holder, you can be in the library, if you see what I mean.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, it's just that line is a little
Iffy,
not as clear because there are other things that we don't allow
understood.
to make money
Okay,
with. So but I think that you're supporting all of the learners in your community. So
Yeah.
I think maybe we just, if you guys are okay with just sort of staying the way it is, and if
sure.
just like my experience with the library being normal, I don't know how much the tutors are not a problem. And if it's, one tutor who's a problem, I always think it's a shame to,
Yeah.
say no tutors can be in here just because one person is, causing a problem for one reason or another.
Thank you for the clarification.
Welcome.
Okay, and
We should
maybe
keep the
Alice,
tutors.
Okay.
Let them.
every,
Yeah, if it becomes an issue, we could always,
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was thinking.
So
Mhm.
I will update that policy just to say tutoring, and then we can reassess if necessary. Does that sound good?
Okay, everybody agree? Hmm?
Yep.
All right. April meeting,
The April meeting.
yeah,
So guys, I think, well, at least last I checked late this afternoon, I think it might be time for us to meet in person. So the state of Michigan, there were amendments to the state of Michigan's Open Meetings Act in December of 2020. And so what they amended was that public bodies can hold remote meetings through December of 2021 if there is a declared local state of emergency. But currently there is no declared local state of emergency. And so the state allowance for virtual board meetings ends at the end of this month. It ends on March 31st. So it's looking like I might be able to see you guys in person. Come next month.
So
Kind of
that's
exciting.
all committee members who have been double jabbed, is it?
I don't think we have any sort of vaccination requirement. I'm sure Jason, you have some things to say about that. So the only tricky part, and Jason, maybe you know more about this than me, or you can explain. I'm certain you could explain it better than me. Is that so? The current gathering restrictions are that you can have gatherings of up to 25 people who are properly social distanced. So the only issue would be if, the 9 or 10 of us, came for the meeting, did our social distancing, and we, for some reason, had 20 members of the public, then we'd be over the 25. I don't know that you guys have ever had 20 members of the public show up for a library board meeting. I'm going to try not to do anything.
Very rare.
yeah,
Before April, but it is looking like, we would be able to start our in-person meetings. at that
Alison,
point.
would that be the reduced 3 feet instead of 6 feet?
No, because we're not students. So I will measure out the room. I'm thinking we'll probably have to go into the White Pine room
Okay.
rather than just in the
I'm just being facetious.
rather than just, I know you are, rather than just the Dodge room, but I'll make sure that we have enough space that we can have a meeting. And if there is anything that changes, I think the Oakland County Board meets tonight. And I did read a couple counties did declare a local state of emergency so that they could continue to have these virtual meetings. So I would just have to be in contact with you guys if it changed. But I think we could probably, unless there's a decision made at the township level, that we probably could make our own choice anyway.
Well, we
No,
talked at it.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The Parks meeting too, and I think they're probably going to be in person next month. And sounds like even the township meeting, but it's the same thing, space and how many people. That we discussed that today, just talked about it, wasn't a big deal.
I see. Okay. Is that held in a park or what?
Well, and we could meet outside. I don't know. April might be a little dicey, but later.
Summer's coming.
Yeah, we want to do a July meeting outside. I'm all for it. Maybe I'm not if it's like 110.
Okay.
You guys don't want to see me. Like Yeah.
Okay,
Allison, though, do you know if, is Merge Live, once we go in person, will they still be there, broadcasting? No.
no, I believe that will stop.
Yeah.
I think that was the decision because the decision was not to record township board meetings, and I think that decision kind of trickled down to everyone.
okay. Vanessa, anything you want to make about township remarks?
So we had a meeting a few weeks ago, just a few things. We entered into a resolution for restaurants. So we got some money that came from, I believe, the county. It came down through to the county and we approved it. So restaurants can work with the township and get reimbursed on some of the stuff that they've had to purchase to survive this past few months with, you see the igloos and heaters and all that stuff. So that's really exciting. And hopefully we get in touch with all those restaurants so that they can take advantage of that. The township is reviewing all the township owned property. So I don't know if I've ever known all the property that the township actually owns. And so there's a little committee that got together and developed a huge spreadsheet of all the properties, and we're developing a strategy. So which properties are we keeping? What's our vision on certain ones? There's random pieces of property that are adjusting to other property owners that we may not have a need for. So, would it be helpful to sell it to that property owner so that they could build the deck or have that extra footage? So we're moving forward with that, which is really exciting. And also there was another development that was brought to us. It wasn't voted on or anything, but just pitched to us, and it's called Midtown on Haggerty. And it is going to be, if it goes through, it will be on Haggerty between the Kroger and Home Depot, right by there by 14 and between 14 and 15 Mile. And it's going to be mixed development where it'll be retail and restaurants up in front, and then 1 and 2 bedroom apartments in the back. It's a larger development with, I want to say it was like 200 apartments. I don't remember exactly, but they had it really nicely built out and some nice, scenery and walking area. So they did a really, really good job. And if there's anywhere in the township, that's a really good location for this kind of development, because it fits there. There's a lot of apartments over there and retail, and they need restaurants over there. There's not very many. So I think it would be a good addition. So that's all I had, unless anyone had any questions. Those were the big hot items.
Anybody want to ask Vanessa anything?
Nope.
Okay, I do not think we have any recommendations to the township board, or do we?
The policy?
Yeah, the study room.
Well,
policy, if you don't mind.
Okay. That's right. All right, do we have a motion to send that? Or
I'll make
just
a motion
recommend it?
to recommend the study room policy to the township board.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second by Pernick.
All right. Cindy?
Magner,
Yes.
Pernick,
Yes.
Garbett,
Yes.
LaFond,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Sternberg, and Lackner absent.
Yes, okay. Passed.
You.
On under other matters, I have a little something that I have been talked to from a couple of people from the Friends group. And they would like to do a history of the library. And one of the things that they would like to ask all of us on this board is if we would be willing to write our observations of how we decided to get on the board or how we feel about it, sort of a personal thing for them. And if you would be interested in that, I would send you the email address of the person who is doing that. So I don't know how you feel about that, but they feel that there is no history of the library from way back when we were with Walled Lake and before we got our own. So I don't know.
Barb, is Pat promoting this? Pat Hildebrand, is she?
Sharon
Sharon? Okay,
and Mary, Sharon and Mary.
okay.
So I don't know if anybody wishes to do that. I would be
I would
happy
be
to-
interested, Barb.
Okay, I'll send you there. I'll
Okay.
send everybody their email address and just put a little
Sure.
note on it.
Sure, that's fine.
I'll send you my new email address, Bob. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Okay, is there anything else anybody would like to bring up? No? Well, it's been a lovely evening. I guess what we would do now is have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Everybody
adjourn.
want to stay together?
No.
Uh,
Okay, Jason moves, we